Hello and welcome to Let's Play Black Geyser, Couriers of Darkness, with me, Bring It Dawn. A couple of disclaimers before we get started. The first being that this game is in early access. Technically this is early access because early access isn't launched for everybody until August 26, 2021. If you're watching this today that I'm uploading it, that's in just a couple of days. So I don't normally play early access titles on the channel. This is a bit of a special exception. The developer reached out to me and asked me to play it. And I've had this game on my radar for a while, I think since they announced it for Kickstarter. And I haven't seen a lot of people cover it. And from what I've seen, keep in mind I haven't played the game yet, but from what I've seen, I think it looks really good. And I like to see it do well. I'm a huge fan of CRPGs, I'm a huge fan of indie developers, and when you combine those two, I mean, you can't go wrong, so. I'm not sure entirely how I'm going to handle it yet. I'm not going to be super dedicated to playing through the entire thing. So early access is only the first act. According to developers, it's about 5 hours worth of gameplay. And I don't know if I'm going to play through the whole thing. I might even avoid side content, we'll see. Just play through like the main narrative to see how the game plays. If I run across any game-breaking bugs, I'm not going to be super dedicated to getting it resolved and finishing it. This is early access after all. I don't normally play early access because I don't like spoiling things for myself before the game fully releases. Because I'll have to replay through it all once the game comes out down the road. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's going to be a little unorthodox, maybe. We'll see. The other disclaimer is that this episode will be nothing but character creation. So normally when I do character creation for a Let's Play, I just cover the stuff that I plan on playing. Like race and class, things like that. This episode, I'm going to go over everything in the character creator. Almost everything. There's one thing I'm not going to go over. You guys can, explore that for yourselves. So anyway, this game is developed by Great Ocean Technologies and published by Great Ocean Technologies and V Publishing. And early access will be released on August 26, 2021. The final release date, I don't think has been announced. I think it's next year though. Sometime in 2022 is the estimated release date. Let's go ahead and jump on in. There's some really neat stuff in the character creation. There are some pre-built characters here as well, if you're interested in that. Let's go ahead and create new. We're going to go over all the races, all the classes, and all of the skills for one class. Which is the class I'll be taking through the early access build. So here's a list of races. We're just going to read through all the descriptions and see what they get. So you have the human. Humans were once a united tribe that roamed Yerangol for generations. The dark goddess of greed, Zornilsa, infected their hearts slowly with greed, avarice, and jealousy. The single tribe of man became many as they turned on one another. They warred for resources and land, forgetting their roots. Their bonds were broken, and their old alliances splintered. Humans come in many different shapes and colors, and can be found all over Yerangol. They are natural farmers, working the land as an artist works clay. Human versatility means that they can fill virtually any role. And their specialties, I guess, or features? I guess racial features. They can be any class, and they're the only race that can do that. And they have -1 maximum supernatural, which we'll get into later. That's under attributes. Alright, and the Dwarves. The devil god Hrothgor was angry over creation of the Elves and the threat they represented to his plans to throw the world into darkness. He sent a succubus to pregnate elven women in an effort to steal their essence that lie within their wombs. That should be an incubus, right? Because succubus is the female version, incubus is the male version, and the incubus is the one that seduces women. Anyway, the elven mothers despaired, but the green goddess told her daughters to seek the first waters of Yerangol. They did so, but were trapped in a stone cavern when Hrothgar sent demons to destroy them. The children survived the attack, but their mothers died. Men in the mountains found their babes and raised them as their own, but the elven progeny were stunted and hairy. The children, now known as Dwarves, grew and prospered, sharing their love from their elven parents, who began to exhibit a preference for the depths of the world. Dwarves are very materialistic, but have a strong connection to clan and family. They are stout and powerfully built, well suited to be exploiting the natural tunnels that form deep in the ground. Alright, so they can't be a Necromancer, Winter Mage, Spellweaver, Convoker, Druid, Templar, Ranger, Swindler, and they can wield war clubs and hammers regardless of class. They get +1 to maximum physique, -2 to maximum charisma, -1 to maximum supernatural, They get plus 15% damage with war clubs and hammers, plus 12% damage with battle axes, and plus 9% damage with slings and fustables. I think I'm saying that right. Fustables? And there's no difference between male and female. That doesn't change their stats. Alright, and the Elves. As the tribes of men fell to greed and the world was spoiled, the Green Goddess wept. And before I forget, let me mention, greed is a mechanic in this game. We'll get into that as we play through it. We don't need to worry about it right now. The king god allowed Valindia to select a few tribes of men, those least affected by greed, to be her vassals in Isilmerald. Talindia chose 11 tribes of men to claim as her own. Those 11 tribes... Oh, sorry, 11, not Elven. So similar. Alright, those 11 tribes were come to be known as the Elves as time passed. Elves shared a special connection with nature, feeling an inherent connection to all natural things. The generations apart from men have changed them physically. The narrow frames allowed them to move faster and quieter than men. Their ears grew pointed to better pick out distant or small sounds. The Elves tend to be xenophobic and haughty towards other races, due to their chosen status imparted by Talindia. They cannot be a Necromancer, a Shaman, or a Templar. They get plus 1 to maximum dexterity, minus 2 to maximum physique, plus 15% damage with bows and arrows. Alright, then the Feldagug. They cannot be a Necromancer, Shaman, or a Templar. They get plus 1 to maximum intelligence, minus 1 to charisma and physique, and plus 1 to maximum supernatural. The Feldagug were once elven tribes who lived close to the north. The demigod Dargomir grew jealous of the love the elves showed for Talindia, and imprisoned a number of elven tribes in the snowy cold north. He would forge his own race and command them as he saw fit. But the elves were first a creation of the God King and the Green Goddess. And as they changed to survive in the north, they also realized the strength they would need to be free. Dargomir eventually realized his mistake, allowed his creations to rule themselves, and commanded them to form 6 tribes. Drawing from the strength granted by their old imprisonment and their god and goddess, they rebelled against their demigod. Feldagug are similar to elves, but much paler. They are resistant to a hard environment who most would consider unlivable. They are rarely seen outside of their snowy northern homelands, and most other races are very distrustful of them. So they're a mix of like snow elves and drow, sounds like. The drow just because other races are distrustful of them. And then the Rillo. This is the race we'll be playing through the early access with. Travelers, traders, and alchemists from the Eastern Empires. The Rillo are a child race of powerful genii and Elenwater? Their homeland is shrouded in mystery, so few outside the Rillo themselves know much about them. What is known is that they are seekers of pleasure and experience, consummate traders, and nomadic caravaneers. Rillo are a large, physically imposing race who bear a passing resemblance to elephants. They eschew religion and favor displays of wealth, and have a natural talent for brewing and drying. They cannot be a Ranger, Templar, or Winter Mage, plus 2 to maximum physique, minus 2 to maximum dexterity. But for the sake of showing off all the classes, we're going to pick the human, so we can actually show off all the classes, since they're the only race that can be every class. Alright, we'll start at the top with the Cleric. Clerics are priests of faith who have taken up arms to better serve their god. While not as combat-oriented as a Templar, they can serve in other ways. Their faith to a deity allows them to wield magical powers that can help their team or hurt their foes. They are first and foremost servants to their gods, and they harness that faith for the good of their religion. Alright, they cannot wear heavy armor, they can wear robes, and they can use the following weapons. Fustables, throwing weapons, and slings. Small blades, rods, and staves. They get a plus 2 focus to racial base, a plus 1 to starting, brewing, and drying. Drying is herbalism, I believe. And they get plus 15, plus 5 for 3 levels, percent resistance to arousal. I'm not going to go through the numbers. I'm going to say they get a persistent resistance to arousal, and they get resistance to illusion and manipulation. I don't know what arousal is. I'm assuming it's like charm, or charm-like effects. But I feel like that would also fall under manipulation. There's a few things I'm not sure yet because I haven't played the game. We'll figure it out as we go. Alright, and then the Convoker. The Convoker eschews most other magical pursuits in favor of the summoning capabilities of each spell class. Convokers are versatile masters of adaptation. Instead of focusing on the icy grasp of a Winter Mage or the dark energies of a Necromancer, Invokers call upon a wide range of creatures to suit any needed task. But don't mistake their versatility as pacifism. Summoning abilities they bring to bear can rain destruction on their enemies through claw, flame, or steel. They can only wear robes, and they can use slings, fusibles, throwing weapons, rods and staves, and small blades. They get a +2 focus to racial base, a +3 intelligence to racial base. They get extra damage with their summoned creatures and extra health for their summoned creatures. And they start with +3 to brewing and drying, and +5 to learning and research. Alright, and the Druid. Druids, like Rangers, are stewards of the wild. They use their faith in the wild gods to protect nature against the encroachment of man. They spend their days away from people so that they may stay better in tune with nature. Druids can call upon the powers of their deity to heal or bring the terrible and powerful forces of nature to call. They feel a kinship with Rangers, but still prefer solitude. Alright, they can only wear robes, and they can use slings and fusibles, throwing weapons, war clubs and hammers, rods and staves, and cannot cast unnatural spells. They get a +1 to focus and a +4 to brewing and drying. They get bonus damage versus the animated undead and the restless undead. And they get a resistance to arousal and resistance to illusion and manipulation. Alright, and the Fighter. Fighters train to be ready for anything. They are a very versatile profession and are the most common of all martial professions. Fighters are proficient with all weapons and armor, making them a deadly and well-prepared combatant. They can wear any physical armor and can wield any weapon. They get +2 to physique, and they get resistance to strain and pain, and resistance to pulse and blow. And the Highlander. This is the class we will be taking through the earlier access as the Rillo, because there can only be one, or be only one. Sorry, got my quote mixed up. Highlanders are hardy and strong warriors. Their profession, originating in the harsh north, affords strong warriors tough enough to resist the elements. They prefer thick armor that doesn't restrict their movement, and helps them blend into natural environments. While they can pick up and use any weapon, they prefer the raw and crushing power of clubs and hammers. They cannot wear heavy armor, and they can wield any weapon. +3 to physique, which stacks really well with the Rillo. The Rillo gets a +2 to physique, so that's +5 from the get-go. They get a bonus damage with war clubs and hammers. They get resistance to heat and cold, and poison and acid, and pulse and blow. So a ton of resistances across the board, and a bonus to my favorite weapon type. On to the next, Necromancer. Necromancers are viewed by society in a negative light, and shunned due to their proximity to death. That said, Necromancers understand that a dead body is just a vessel. They have learned to use death and its trappings as tools. They pursue great mysteries which others have shunned and deemed immoral. But Necromancers are not evil. They merely focus on the inherent powers of life and death, sometimes even more than their own existence. Because of this, powerful Necromancers are an extremely rare sight, but the most powerful are said to have transcended death and can even create powerful undead servants. They can only wear robes, and they can use slings, fusibles, throwing weapons, rods and staves, and small blades. They get a +3 bonus to focus, a +2 to intelligence, a +4 to brewing and drying, and +4 to learning and research. That is some studded leather right there. Alright. Rangers are warriors who feel most at home in the hearth of the wild and pledge to protect Urungul from man and beast alike. They are sworn to preserve a balance between man and nature. They enforce this with their actions. Rangers are skilled in the use of any weapon but excel with the bow. They also abhor the unnatural and are trained to take down the undead and other aberrant creations of men. They cannot wear heavy armor, can wield any weapon. They get a +2 to physique, +1 to dexterity, and +1 to charisma. That's pretty good. They get a bonus damage to animated undead, restless undead, increased damage with bows and arrows, increased damage with slings and fusibles, and resistance to strain and pain and pulse and blow. Alright, the Shaman. Shamans are beings of faith who channel their power in an unusual manner. They attempt to connect with their deity on a spiritual level and can communicate with spirits and other servants of their god. Shamans have access to a kind of magic that is not easily understood by wizards or priests. They use an ancient magic. Their ability to travel with their non-physical souls to further their communion with their god tends to confuse more short-sighted magical practitioners. They can wear light armor, they can wear robes, and they can use slings, fusibles, throwing weapons, and rods and staves. They get a +3 +3 bonus to focus, +1 to intelligence, +3 to supernatural, +5 to brewing and drying, +2 to learning and research. The increased damage with rods and staves, increased damage against necromancers, increased damage against restless undead, and they get a resistance to illusion and manipulation. Spellweaver. Spellweavers are the most common form of wizards in Yarangol. They are as varied as the world itself. Some Spellweavers focus on a single school of magic, while others seek to explore each magical discipline as equals. Thus, no two Spellweavers are the same. All they share in common is an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Spellweavers are much too busy studying the arcane to bother with martial training, and as such, rely on their mastery of the eldritch magics to protect them. They can wear robes, and they can use slings, fusibles, throwing weapons, rods and staves, and small blades. They get a +3 to focus, +3 to intelligence, a +5 to brewing and drying, and +5 to learning and research. Alright, the Swindler. Swindlers are master conmen. They focus less on outright burglary and more manipulating the weak or greedy. Unlike thieves, Swindlers hide in plain sight. Because of this, they are better in open combat, with their plans and machinations unfold in the shadows. It said when, I think. While. They can wear light armor, and they can wield bows and arrows, slings and fusibles, throwing weapons, small blades, rods and staves. They get +1 to dexterity, +1 to focus, +2 to charisma, +2 to intelligence, and +1 to brewing and drying, and +5 to bargain and persuasion. That's a lot of stats. They get increased damage with throwing weapons, increased damage with small blades, bonus damage against sleeping, and against stunned. That is a ton of stats. I wonder if that's balanced. That's so much stuff. Alright, the Templar. When the game is fully released, this is the class I will be playing, of course. Templars are human warrior priests. The most devout of their kind, and only the most dedicated, can become a Templar. Sworn to a strict code of conduct, they train endlessly in combat so that they might fight evil in whatever form it manifests. They are especially trained to hunt and dispatch the undead. That's a really cool looking shield. Alright, can wear any physical armor and can wield any weapon. +2 to physique, +1 to focus, and +1 to charisma. They get bonus damage against the animated and restless undead. They get resistance to strain and pain and pulse and blow, and resistance to arousal, illusion, and manipulation. Alright, the Thief. In a world infested with greed, the Thief has become much more common. The skill set is diverse, and they can function as common footpads or royal spies. They prefer subterfuge and misdirection to open conflict. The ability to steal or plant items, remain undetected, and create all manner of powders makes them a deadly and unpredictable foe in or out of combat. They can wear light armor and wield bows and arrows, slings and fusibles, throwing weapons, small blades, rods and staves. They get +2 to dexterity, +2 to focus, +3 to brewing and drying, +1 to bargain and persuasion. They get bonus damage against sleeping and stunned. Then the Winter Mage. They are wizards called Winter Mages who seek the mastery of the harsh magics of the cold north. They have an extremely high resistance to cold and can withstand temperatures that would kill mortal men. Because of this, they are uncomfortable in warmer climates, but some Winter Mages still travel to further their knowledge. Winter Mages need less sleep than other mortals, using a technique they developed known as cold sleep. Powerful Winter Mages can use their knowledge and magical skills to craft ice golems, which can serve as mighty guardians. They can only wear robes, and they can use slings, fusibles, throwing weapons, rods and staves, and small blades. They get +3 to focus, +2 to intelligence, +3 to brewing and drying, and +4 to learning and research. They have resistance to arousal and cold. Alright, so let's go back. Make sure I select the right character and class. Alright, here's our attributes. Physique. Physique displays a character's overall physical build and state. The character's value in physique modifies their damage dealt with physical attacks and their maximum health value. Their ability to evade incoming attacks through blocking, and their carrying capacity. Dexterity. Dexterity displays a character's agility. The character's value in dexterity modifies their aim and accuracy value, and their chance to evade attacks through dodging and parrying attacks. Intelligence displays a character's ability to think, plan, and use logic in different situations. The character's value in intelligence modifies their efficiency with various spells and skills that depend on one's mental abilities to be performed. Focus. A focus displays a character's overall mental strength and resilience. A character's value in focus modifies their aim and accuracy value, the ability to evade incoming attacks through dodging and blocking, and their efficiency with spells. A charisma displays a character's natural aptitude to compel, attract, and influence others. I wonder if that has anything to do with the arousal stat. A charisma modifies a character's bargain and persuasion skill and various class skills. And supernatural. A supernatural displays a feature of characters that elevates them above ordinary creatures. The value of supernatural increases a character's resistance values against various forms of damage and enables further special abilities. So I think just pumping this up as high as it'll go makes sense. And probably focus. Oh, you can also auto-allocate all these stats as well. I just hit this if I want to. I think you can select some resistances. These aren't all the resistances in the game, as you'll see once we go to skills and spells. Alright, so heat. A heat resistance displays a character's general protection against attacks with flaming weapons and scorching or fire attacks. Heat resistance decreases the damage received and effect duration of such sources. It's the same thing. Cold resistance displays a character's general protection against attacks with frozen weapons and freezing effects. Cold resistance decreases the damage received and effect duration of such sources. Poison and acid. Poison and acid resistance displays a character's general protection against attacks with venomous, poisonous, and acidic attacks and effects. Poison and acid resistance decreases the damage received and effect duration of such sources. I'm fine with that. We'll just do a well-rounded. Oh, it's not allocated. Oh, is this because it's not a class skill? Try something else. Let me... Alright, so you can use that. Oh no, okay, so as I put points into Supernatural, I get more points down here. Okay, neat. That's probably why it caps that, so you can't have too much of this down here. Okay, looks pretty good to me. Alright, so here's our skills. Bargain and Persuasion offers the ability to manipulate the characters of Urangel to do your bidding. Points in this skill will help you reach favorable prices with vendors and unlocks more options and dialogues affected by Charisma and Intelligence. Learning and Research offers the ability to read various texts, scrolls, and recipes. Scrolls can then be cast or recorded into spellbooks. Recipes can be learned and added to the compendium. Affected by Intelligence, Focus, and modifiers. And Brewing and Drying offers the ability to craft potions and powders from various ingredients collected throughout Urangel. Potions can mostly be consumed for a set of positive effects or healing. While powders can be thrown at or planted on enemies for a set of negative effects or damage. Crafting potions and powders from advanced ingredients or at higher heat levels will require investing some points into this skill. Affected by Intelligence, Dexterity, Focus, and modifiers. So if I was going Templar, I would put a point into this, but we're going Highlander. I'm going to put a point into this, because we already have a point there. May as well, focus up. And this is why I said earlier I'm not going to cover everything in the character creation, because these 4 skills depend on your class. I can say that the Templar also gets Seasoned Warrior. The Templar also gets another skill called, it's essentially Leadership. I forgot what it's called, like Call Command or something. Either way, I'm not going to go through this for every class. Only the class that I'm going to play. So the Seasoned Warrior. Enables additional dialogue choices themed around warriors. Besides adding choices, it increases the bargain and persuasion score when in dialogue with other soldiers, thugs, mercenaries, and bodyguards. Affected by charisma, physique, and modifiers. Outdoor survival. The character becomes more capable at fending for themselves and their allies in the wilderness. Increases health regained while resting at outdoors locations for all party members. Multiple characters can take this skill to increase its effect. Affected by physique, focus, and modifiers. Oh no, he has Command Company too. Yeah, no, Command Company is the one the Templar has. In fact, these are the same four the Templar gets. Okay, out of the way. Command Company offers the ability to become the leader of the party. The commander of the group can designate various battlefield tactics to follow, which results in group-wide bonuses. New tactics become available as the leader advances. The bonuses gained remain active until another tactic is selected, where the group gathers to rest. The group can only have one commander at a time, affected by charisma, physique, and modifiers. Probably good. Put a point into that. Then force locks and doors. Offers the ability to open locked containers and doors the harsh way. This rather brutish way of opening them requires far less finesse than a lockpick, and is prone to making noise that might attract unwanted attention from the surroundings. And more effective against low-level locks. Forcing a lock successfully offers a small amount of experience, affected by physique, dexterity, and modifiers. Let's do that instead. All these are probably pretty straightforward, but we're going to go through them anyway. Alright, so bows and arrows. Defines a character's aptitude with bows and arrows. Bows and arrows increases the user's aim and accuracy with them. Short bows are fast weapons. Long bows are average speed. Arrows mostly deal stabbing damage. Slings and fusibles. Defines a character's aptitude with slings and fusibles. Slings and fusibles increases the user's aim and accuracy. Okay, it's the same stuff. They deal pulse and blow damage. Then throwing. Increases aptitude with it. Accuracy and aim are increased as well. Mostly deal slash and stabbing damage. War clubs and hammers. Same stuff. They deal pulse and blow and stabbing damage. That's also what we're going to put our points into. I could go... No, we get bonus damage with this. Yeah. And yeah, we're going to stick with this. Because we get the, what, plus 20% damage with war clubs and hammers. Alright, large blades, they deal mostly slash alongside a bit of pulse and blow. Small blades, very fast weapons, dealing mostly stabbing damage, while short swords are fast and deal mostly slashing damage. Battle axes. Axes are fast weapon, dealing mostly slash damage, alongside a bit of pulse and blow. Are they one-handed? I assume this was two-handed. Alright, spears and halberds. Spears are slow, dealing mostly stabbing damage. Halberds are very slow, dealing mostly slashing. Rods and staves. Average speed weapons. Or staves are average speed. And they deal mostly pulse and blow. And unarmed, very fast attacks, dealing pulse and blow damage. Okay, so pulse and blow decreases damage taken from pulse and blow attacks, decreases duration of brittle, concussion, and disarm status effects, increases the chance of resisting knockdown, concussion, and disarm status effects. Alright, strain and pain decreases duration of throbbing, stun, immobilize, slow, itching, and weakened status effects. Increases the chance of resisting stun, immobilize, slow, itching, and weakened status effects. Stabbing decreases damage taken from stabbing. Decreases the duration of exposed and wounded status effects. Increases the chance of resisting wounded status effects. Slashing decreases damage taken from bleeding status effects and slashing attacks. Decreases the duration of softened status effects. Increases the chance of resisting softened and bleeding status effects. Alright, and this also decreases the duration of pervious and disease status effects. And increases the chance of resisting poison, dissolving, and disease status effects. I'm not reading the first part there because we already read that earlier. Decrease the duration of toasting and burning status effects, and we've read the rest of that. Decrease the duration of freezing and frozen status effects, and we read the rest. Depressive effects. Decrease the duration of pacified, exhausted, and drowsy status effects. Increases the chance of resisting pacified, unconscious, exhausted, and sleep status effects. Then arousal. Decrease the duration of nervous, distracted, and panicking. And increases the chance of resisting distracted and panicking. Little typo right there. Then illusion and manipulation. Decrease the duration of perplexed, blind, silence, charm, attraction, and confusion. Increases the chance of resisting blind, silence, charm, attraction, and confusion. Alright, appearance. You can change your major color. Let's see what's a good color for this guy. Big fan of a lot of these. Let's go with black for now. Nice little red sash. That looks pretty good. That's a good color for him. Eye color, we'll go with brown. Let's pick our style before we pick our color. I'll probably go with the mohawk here. Oh, that is a long beard. Oh. Oh. Alright, I'll probably just go with round here. Alright, let's find us a nice little portrait. Probably this one. That fits the Highlander theme and what we're going for here. Alright, we'll just do John Gar. Oh, we can suggest Carter, Evold, Asker, Edward, Atlee, Yardy. Okay. Do Dongar, and let's see what our voices sound like.
Yeah, it's nice to be needed.
A little quiet.
Why not?
What? Where's the will? Yes, what?
Yes. I'm not going to like this, am I?
Yeah, Brute's definitely the way to go there. Alright, on to next. Alright, here's our stats. Oh, that's a dwarf picture. Whoopsies. Oh, let me go back. Where are the Rillo portraits? Oh, they're down here. I kind of like this one. Not for this character, but definitely stands out. Also, it might be more efficient to go a dwarf Highlander because dwarves get the bonus damage to the clubs and warhammers, but Rillos are a new race entirely. I think they're unique to the setting, so we're going to play that instead. But I do think if you're trying to optimize it, a dwarf is probably the way to go. I guess we'll go with this. Alright, and there we go. There's my Rillo named Dongar. We are immortal. Are there immortal races? The Elves might be immortal, I guess. Either way, I'm going to call it here. That's it for this. Next episode, we'll jump into the game proper. And, yeah, just get started. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.